Iga, big bad Iga. Whoa, do we have a lot to talk about tonight? This is going to be juicy, ladies and gentlemen. Come on in, have a look around, like a video or two. And as usual, this video is brought to you via the Doctrine of Fair Use to Fair Dealing and the Digital Millennium Act. Iga Swiatek suspended for doping. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the news reports. Suspended for testing positive for the banned substance tramatazidine. Did I say that right? We're going to just call it TMZ for short, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Iga Swiatek actually currently serving out a portion of her suspension for doping, and it appears she will have just over a week left to fulfill that suspension. She will be eligible, for play for the Australian Open. However, ladies and gentlemen, it was made publicly. That's right. Today on Thanksgiving. Boy, are they good at releasing these stories at the right times, or should I say the wrong times? That's right. So now it appears there's a little bit of damage control here, just stating that the ruling on her level of TMZ was the lowest end of the range for no significant fault. I don't know what that means, if that's the case, and why even suspend her, right? Unbelievable. So reports are it's possibly due to maybe negligence and not necessarily intentional. And this is what I'm reading from one particular outlet. However, ladies and gentlemen, she's already served 22 days of the ban while the process was ongoing. So she knew about this. It's been kept quiet, made publicly today on Thanksgiving. Now, Iga Swiatek, she's 23 years old, 5-time Grand Slam champion. And she was informed by the ITIA, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, that essentially she would be given a suspension. Now, she hasn't been active. She parted ways with her coach, Thomas, depending on where you are and how you want to pronounce that. She parted ways. She's now with Wim Fissette. And the reality here is, I've been saying this for a while. If you follow the channel, guys, you know we've talked about this. In particular, we're going to get to Coco as well, because this head-to-head matchup with Coco, it hasn't really looked right. We all know something's not right about this. But the reality here is, let's get back to Iga Swiatek. And the reality here is, let's go back to the 21 WTA. And look, these are my views, right? Allegedly, right? Everyone has their own opinion. Iga Swiatek, according to a lot of professional Hall of Famers, analysts, including myself, I consider myself a tennis expert. I watch tennis all day long, every day. It's stated, it's suggested, anyone that does something at least 30 minutes a day for at least 5 years is considered an expert in that. I've been watching tennis for decades, guys, hours a day, right? Look at all the coverage I've brought you guys over the course of my channel. Over 6,000 videos. It takes a lot of tennis watching. I've watched thousands and thousands of matches, over, nearly 50,000 hours of tennis covering it. I kind of know what I'm talking about. Now, Iga Swiatek, let's go back to the 21 season, the WTA finals. Iga Swiatek was the weakest player in that finals. There's no doubt about that. Now, we had, just to name a few players, we had Garbine Muguruza was the champion. She defeated Annette Kontaveit in that championship match, right? We had Pliskova there. We had Paula Badosa there. We had Barbora Krejcikova. We had Zachary, of course. We had Arina Sabalenka. Iga Swiatek was the weakest player there. It wasn't even close. She would come back and later, just a couple months later in that 22 season, and just take the tour by storm. Now, listen, guys, I'm going to pivot here a little bit. Any of you guys boxing fans, remember, now we went the biggest fight in terms of gates, right? Now, we all know this Netflix fiasco with Mike Tyson that set a lot of records, but weird how they marketed and promoted that, right? Let's go back to, let's say, Mayweather-Pacquiao, right? So for the most part, that's the largest gate for a sporting event, right? So the money they made off of that event in terms of pay-per-view buys, ticket prices at the gate. I mean, we went to that fight. We paid nearly $10,000 for 2 tickets, right? Very expensive. The reason that fight was delayed for so many years was because Mayweather stated, he said, I'm not going to fight Pacquiao because he literally came into boxing as a professional like 112 pounds. He's now moved up to nearly middleweight, 147 plus pounds, and he's knocking people out. Mayweather said, I've never seen a guy so, and look, this is allegedly, right? He said, this is what he said, but his views were based on allegations that, we haven't really proved to be true, But allegedly, Mayweather said, I'm not going to fight Pacquiao because I think he's using PEDs. He said, I've been in boxing, my family's been in boxing for decades, and we've never seen someone come into professional boxing so small, so little, and just carry knockout power through all these weight classes. It doesn't seem logical to me. It doesn't seem right. So that fight was delayed for so many years, revolving around testing and different, contract disputes that they couldn't work out. Eventually, they ended up fighting probably past their prime, right? It still did well, but the reason that fight was delayed was because Mayweather felt Pacquiao was just he was just using something not legal, right? And of course, Pacquiao never tested, to my knowledge, he never tested having used PEDs. So, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but that was Mayweather's perception. Let's pivot back to Iga Swiatek. I've watched tennis for a long time, and I can tell you the way she took the tour by storm in a matter of 2 months, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it's pretty hard to believe, because we're talking about players like, for example, take a look at Coco. We knew Coco was great, 12, 13 years old. She's come up the ranks dominating. And for people that just got here and don't really watch and haven't watched a lot of Coco, they don't understand. She's been good for a really long time. She's been around Serena and Venus. She's been around greatness. She's had great coaches in her camp her entire career. We knew she's been great. She's burst on the scene at 15 at Wimbledon. She took out Venus, and she nearly had a showdown set up to face Serena Williams, which would have been huge at SW19, but Simona Halep took her out. And we're not going to talk about Simona Halep because she's had her own issues with doping, okay, guys? We're not going to go there. But we know Coco's been good. She's very small. She's very slim. You see Coco in real life. She's very small. She's pretty skinny. She's not muscular. She's not busting out with muscles, and she's just athletically gifted. And we know that. We've knew this for a long time. Iga Swiatek, though, coming off of that 21 season in Mexico, we knew her serve wasn't great. We knew there was a lot of things she can work on. But I will say I've been one of the few tennis channels on record for several years before that 22 season. I've stated Iga Swiatek, she has the right tools. She's very good, and I think she's going to be a very good player. But we didn't expect her to be that good coming from that 21 season to that 22 season. Now, Thomas, look, they started working together in that 21 season, and we all know previously prior to that, but we all know that 21 season, they did some great things. And the reality here is, this is my opinion. Anyone that plays sports or have played sports for a long time, you come up, like, for example, let's look at LeBron James. LeBron James is regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time. And, AI just did this list of greatest athletes of all time, and LeBron's on that list. We all know LeBron is great, right? I knew people that have played against LeBron. Here's the thing with LeBron. LeBron was known as a great player all of his life. This didn't just happen, okay? When he was a teenager, he was dominating. ESPN was covering his high school games, and he changed the way high school games are covered. LeBron went from high school to the NBA. Anyone that's played against him his entire career, his entire life, they've known LeBron James was that guy. He didn't just burst out of the scene, dominating. Iga Swiatek, that 22 season, just came out of nowhere and started dominating. Anyone that's been involved with sports, it can happen, but it's questionable. Now, Iga Swiatek, in case you're not, if you're just clicking on this video, if you're just listening to me, she tested positive for a banned substance. How did it get in her system? Look, we're going to get to that in due time. But the reality here is we know right now that Iga Swiatek has banned substances in her system. That's a fact. We know that to be a fact. That's not an allegation. Now, let's go back to this 22 season. Iga Swiatek had an amazing 2022 season. But I'm looking at this, as much tennis as I watch, I'm like, wow, where did this come from? Now, when you are a professional, normally there's a level, right? There's a level of competition that it's like your opponents, it's like if you're a good player or a good team, there's a level of competition that the professionals, there's like a range where, especially single professional sports, where there's like individual professional sports like tennis, right? Where if you take a look at like the other surrounding players, like for example, top 10, I'm going to make my point here. I'm trying to do it in a like respectful manner. Let's take a look at a top 10, like for example. Normally the top player in the top 10 there's a reason they're number one, but a lot of times they're not as dominant compared to their peers, especially when we're considering a top 10, just in a matter of like 2 months. You know what I mean? I'm trying to word this professionally, guys. I'm trying to be respectful here. But let's take a look at the 22 season Iga Swiatek. 70 wins, 10 losses, right? Freaking amazing. 8 championships. She won Doha, the Indian Wells, Miami. She made the Sunshine Double look like a routine day at the beach. I made that up. That's my punchline. It's famous now. And look, you can quote me. Iga Swiatek made the Sunshine Double look like a routine day at the beach. She won the Indian Wells and Miami, Stuttgart. She got the Porsche. Sabalenka couldn't handle it. She won Rome, the French Open, and the U.S. Open, and San Diego. 70-win season. Iga Swiatek, her 21 season, Mexico, where she was the worst player, in my opinion, and according to other professional Hall of Famers, in their opinion, 36 wins, 15 losses, 36 and 15. She won double the matches in 22. In a matter of 2 months, she just changed her game completely and started dominating the tour. 69 wins in 23, 64 wins in 24. Iga Swiatek she's won 19 titles since 22. 4 Grand Slams. She's dominated. She beat Venus Williams' consecutive win streak, which stood on a record for over 20 years. She's overpowering opponents. Short rallies, just dominating the tour, right? Her head-to-head against the majority of the tour, like there's only a few players that we can name owns the head-to-head against Iga Swiatek coming off that 21 season. That's Jelena Ostapenko, Selena Rybakina, and that's it. That's all I can think of. Who else owns the head-to-head against Iga Swiatek? Barbora made a couple good wins, but she lost this past Saudi Arabia match. Elena Rybakina and Barbora. Jelena, I can't think of anyone else that has owned the head-to-head against Iga Swiatek since 22. She's dominated the tour, and it just came out of nowhere. Normally, that doesn't happen. Like I talked about LeBron, he's been great his whole life. You know, playing against players he played against in high school and, and he didn't go to college, but high school and, AAU, they know he's been dominant his entire career. Iga Swiatek was 36 and 15 in that 21 season. She came and nearly doubled her win percentage the following year with what I would consider a 2-month improvement. That is insane. What do you guys think? Was Iga Swiatek flying under the radar? Possibly. Again, this is allegedly. This is all we know right now. The fact says she's tested positive for TMZ this year. There's no other positive tests that Iga Swiatek has failed in previous years. But what do you guys think? Has Iga Swiatek possibly been using performance-enhancing drugs for longer than this year? Now, the tests say she hasn't. So that's what we're going to stick to. But I want your opinion, all right? This is opinion. This is allegedly. What do you guys think? Is it possible that she has been using performance? Why do you think I call Iga Big Bad Iga? Because she's been dominating opponents. She's been beating opponents up. And it's like you didn't see it coming. And that's something it just makes you raise your eyebrows. Where did this come from? Where did this come from? Right? She didn't have this dominant junior career. I mean, yeah, she won a junior slam. She won Wimbledon, but she didn't have this dominant junior career like Coco did. We all know Coco was the former junior number one. Coco had an amazing junior career. We knew she would be great. Iga won the French Open as an unseeded player. We didn't necessarily know she would be great. But you look at all the records and the bagels and all the things she's accomplished. Where did this come from? It just happened in a matter of 2 months. It's been questionable. But what's also questionable to me is the way she parted ways with her former coach. You don't win. Look, let me just remind you guys of how much she's accomplished with Thomas. 70-win season in 22, 69-win season in 23, 64-win season this past season, 5 slams. And you're going to part ways with your coach? What is going on here? Why is the tension so thick for someone that's been winning so much? Who does that? What is going on here? And I think the Polish fans, you guys need to chime in on this because you've been vocal, especially on this page. When I told you guys, when no one was supporting Iga Swiatek and I was, you guys weren't there. Then you showed up. When I started to question and criticize some things, I'm like, I don't like what I'm seeing here. And I've made the videos about this. I've made the videos and I've said, look, what is integrity? What is integrity? Integrity is what you do when no one's watching. And I've called Iga Swiatek out for some of the things that I've seen her do during matches. And I've made the videos about this. If you're doing these things during matches, what are you doing when no one's watching? Go find the videos, guys. Okay? I got a lot of hate. I got a lot of disrespect. I know what I'm talking about. Okay? I played athletics my entire life at a high level. I didn't make the pros, but listen, guys, I know 20 Michael Jordans that probably should have made the pros, okay? Jadakiss said it best. He said, why is there a brother better than Michael Jordan that didn't get that break? Listen, guys, the reality here is I know what I'm talking about. I've seen a lot of questionable things with Iga Swiatek during her matches that I would consider questionable, that the fans have considered questionable, holding up your rackets, trying to, delay your opponents, doing jumping jacks at the net, trying to throw your opponents. These aren't tennis instincts to do jumping jacks at the net when you're facing down a Vekic. That's not a tennis instinct. Okay? Where did that come from? If you're doing things like this to get an edge during the match with millions of people watching, what are you doing when no one's watching? This is integrity. This is sports. We all know this. We played sports. We've seen people do these things to get an edge. We've seen this our entire career. We know people do things to get an edge. Everyone wants to get an edge. But if you're doing things like this with millions of people watching, what are you doing when no one's watching? This is a legitimate question. What are you doing when no one is watching? Iga Swiatek, guys, test positive for a banned substance. That's right. We're going to call it TMZ for short. What do you guys think? Now, this is her first positive test. She hasn't tested positive in the past, so we're going to give her the benefit of the doubt. But I want your opinion. Was she doing this before? What do you guys think? Allegedly. Let me know. We're talking about Coco in this head-to-head, guys. Come on. Now, aside from the horrible game plans that Coco, I felt she's had from her past coaches, going into these matchup overthinking, something didn't seem right when she faced Iga Swiatek. Coco has literally, at a teenager, She owned the head-to-head against a lot of these players in the top 10 for a long time, except Iga Swiatek. For some reason, she couldn't quite beat Iga Swiatek. And I'm looking at Iga Swiatek. She's a good tennis player, but she's not doing anything special out there. She's just overpowered. She has the strength and the power to play aggressive and hit her winners early in the rally. That's really all she's doing. She's hitting her winners in 3 to 5 shots. It's not like a high level of shot making ability, like these defensive players have. Take a look at any good defensive player. They're normally great at long rallies. They're great getting the ball between the lines, getting the ball back. They have great stamina. They have great tennis IQ, great ball placement. Iga Swiatek's a good defensive player because she overpowers opponents, and she could take the ball out the air. She could take the ball wherever it is and just blast a powerful winner. Look, year over year, she improved her forehand speed 6 to 7 miles per hour. How's she doing this? You take a look at the players that have that range, those long, deep balls like Elena Rybakina, the players that can take the ball a little bit earlier and overpower like Elena Ostapenko. She struggles against players that have that strength like that. But everyone else, she's just dominating. And I've always found her to be just how I've followed her before that 22 season, for her to come out and dominate like this. I personally thought it was questionable. I thought it was highly, highly questionable. Because watching sports our entire lives, playing sports our entire lives, there's not that one kid that you've played with your entire life that just comes back in 2 months and starts dominating everyone. Normally, there's a level that you have, and you can improve a little bit. But on a scale from 1 to 10, if you're at a 7, you don't go from a 7 to a 12, just dominating the league against people you played against your entire life. It just normally doesn't happen like that. Iga Swiatek in that 22 season, I thought it was very interesting. And just to see the things that were going on the court, I'm like, there's something here. There's something going on here. You're doing a lot of things showing that you want to win a little too much. What are you doing when no one's watching? Guys, we're going to finish this conversation. Hope everyone had a happy holiday if you celebrate it. We don't necessarily celebrate Thanksgiving, guys. There's a lot of chaos and violence behind that holiday. I do think they need to rename it and change it. But the reality is, if you do celebrate it, it's all about making it what you want to make it. You can take a negative situation and make it positive. And I hope Iga Swiatek does something to take this negative situation and make it a positive. I'm going to wait for her to come out. I'm going to wait a little bit and see what she has to say about this. But I want the Polish fans to chime in because this is a very interesting topic. Iga Swiatek tests positive. We're going to call it short TMZ here, a banned substance. And I don't think this looks good. I've talked about Iga Swiatek and her stamina. I've said in my personal opinion, I don't think she's going to have a long career where she's dominating because I've questioned her stamina. Watching her play, I could clearly see she has stamina issues. And for her to dominate just in the fashion she's dominated the last few years with that type of stamina, it made me question. Iga has stamina issues, whether you want to admit it or not. The way she holds up opponents and buys time, that's a stamina issue. She plays aggressive, very powerful. She plays very fast and aggressive. And I don't necessarily think Iga Swiatek has the best skills on tour. I just think she's very strong and aggressive, and she's getting that strength from somewhere. I mean, she works out. I've seen all the players work out. I haven't seen anything crazy in her workout routines. It's just I've been puzzled. I'll be honest. I've been puzzled as someone that watches tennis every day, all day. I've been puzzled as to how she's been dominating. To me, it's puzzling. It's puzzling to me. That's just my opinion. It's puzzling to me. It's puzzling how she's been able to dominate like this. It's puzzling to me, especially someone like Coco, who's very darn good. Coco is very good. Coco is so good, she'll spot you 4 to 5 free service games, and still have a chance to win the match. That's how good Coco is. And to see her dominated by one player like this, it's mind-boggling to me. Now, in terms of Iga Swiatek, I don't know, guys. Is there going to be an asterisk by these accomplishments? I do think she's a good player. I think she's a good player. I like a lot of things that she's done to help raise awareness to some of these wars and things that are going on. I think she's a good player. But guys, I mean, is this real? Coco is freaking amazing. The way she's dominated Coco, is this real, guys? Should there be an asterisk by this head-to-head? Because Coco's freaking amazing. Now, I'm not shocked, okay? I knew this was going to happen. I've said it. Go watch the videos. I said, look, guys, don't be surprised if she's involved in a doping scandal. I said this. I predicted this. Yes, I know I'm always right. I predicted this. Don't be surprised if she's involved in a doping scandal. Don't be surprised. You can't be shocked. You guys ever notice how she wears her hat? Iga doesn't like to show her eyes. You ever notice that? Listen, guys. I don't know. Good energy, speechless. This is a first. Now, she did have a successful appeal, right? On October 4th, they recommended her suspension to be lifted. So there was a reason why she was inactive. We all know. You know, she had some personal reasons why she didn't play a lot of these or any of the Chinese portion of the tour. But she was going through a lot behind the scenes, and then she got rid of her coach. Notice the pattern here. I'm not talking about Yannick. I'm not going to talk about center because, you know, we all know primarily I discussed the WTA on this channel. I'm not going to go there because I've said this for a reason. A lot of people ask me, how come I don't cover the ATP? I don't cover the ATP because, in my personal opinion, I think the WTA is just has a little bit more integrity as an organization, and they don't make as much money. I think the ATP is a joke. I think a lot of those guys are on stuff, to be honest with you. I think the ATP is a joke. That's why I don't cover it. I think it's a joke. And you don't want to hear how I really feel about that tour. You do not want to know how I really feel about the tour, and that's why I don't really cover it. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of amazing players, a lot of amazing matches, but you do not want to hear why I really don't cover the ATP. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, I'm speechless, but I'm not really shocked. I'm not shocked. Again, now they're playing damage control. They're saying the levels were so low that it's not intentional. And look, we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say here, allegedly, I'm speechless. I'm speechless. We're going to give Iga Swiatek the benefit of the doubt. You know, it's been reported that the levels were so low that it wasn't intentional. But again, it's questionable. When you come off of a 21 season and you have these kind of numbers, it's questionable. I mean, it's questionable. I mean, when you've been playing against players, the same players. Here's the thing about tennis in the main tour. These players have known each other. They may not necessarily be friends, but they've known each other. They've played against each other. They've practiced against each other for years. And I felt that a lot of players let's go back to that New York press conference where Pegula was drinking the Heineken. I made the video about it. You got to go find the video. If you ask me, she was throwing subs at Iga Swiatek. She was also throwing subs at Iga Swiatek. She was. And a lot of players like Ons, I felt Ons took the classy route. During that U.S. Open stretch in 22, a lot of players were talking about Iga Swiatek and some of the shady stuff she was doing, and they all took the classy road. Look, I didn't see it. I can't answer your question because I didn't see it. I must have missed it. Pegula, no. Yeah, I missed that one. I didn't see it. They all took the classy route. I'm like, they don't. No one has really addressed Iga Swiatek and the things that she's been doing, but Danielle Collins, Danny Mav, Danielle Collins doesn't play, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy she's coming back. Danny Mel, we love you here. I'm happy she's coming back because Danielle Collins does not play. She stands up for Coco. She speaks her mind, and Danielle Collins is a real American. Yes, folks. Danielle Collins is about that life. She stands up. She speaks her mind. And Danielle Collins, that outburst against Iga Swiatek, that's been other players wanting to say stuff to her, but haven't had the courage. Iga Swiatek finally had someone step up to her, and that was Danielle Collins. Listen, guys, we're going to talk more about this. I'm going to get going. What do you guys think? Comment below. Do you think Iga Swiatek has been doing this for a longer period of time? Do you? And this is allegedly. The facts state that she's only tested positive once. But what do you guys think? Comment below. Tennis in a minute. The head-to-head against Coco. Should there be an asterisk by it? Ouch. Love you guys. Like the video. Show some love. We're going to talk about this all weekend long. Oh, yes. And stay tuned. We're talking about Coco Gauff as well. The future of tennis.